Well, welcome back to our Revelation series here on Barefoot Bible. This is our 20th video in the series, and today we're covering the heavenly vision in chapter 4, verses 4 and 5. And just a reminder, please feel free to submit your questions about Revelation below the video in the add a comment section. Let's begin with chapter 4, verse 4. Round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their head crowns of gold. And we might wonder, well, who are these 24 elders, or whom do they represent? There's many interpretations regarding the identity of the crowned elders around the throne. Some suggest they must be angels or heavenly beings. Others suggest, no, they're representatives of the church. And there's more information coming up in chapter 5, so we will deal with that in more detail when we get there. But for today, let's consider the facts we can gather from chapters 4 and 5 about their identity. First of all, they're called elders. As first century believers read John's description here, they would consider them as religious leaders, an elder in a city or in the nation, an elder among the Jewish priests, or perhaps in the church. So they're called elders. Secondly, they were wearing white raiment and crowns of gold. And that indicates they are crowned kings or crowned rulers of some sort. Chapter 5 confirms that. Verse 10, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests. In the first chapter, John indicated believers would be called kings and priests unto God and his Father. In chapter 20, John describes the earthly reign of Christ. And it says, and they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Chapter 20, verse 6. Well, also, these elders are singing a song. And the words of the song says, and thou hast redeemed us unto God by thy blood. So the lyrics indicate these are representatives of the redeemed. Being redeemed by the blood of Christ, that would eliminate the angels, as some suggest. The elders also came out of every kindred and tongue and people. Now, some suggest our number 24 must represent the 12 tribes or 12 apostles. Others insist again that it's the church, and there's really insufficient scriptural support to determine who the 24 elders may be. But let me just suggest my theory, and that would be that they represent the crowned elders are the glorified believers represented all of the redeemed before God's throne. So I think it's all the redeemed put together. What an amazing truth, though, that Jesus would share his glory with us. Chapter 4, verse 5, and out of the throne proceeding lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, and which are the 7 spirits of God. And we'll deal with that in a moment. Well, the lightning and thundering are similar to Exodus 20, when God descended on Mount Sinai to give the 10 commandments to Moses. It says, and all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and heard the noise of the trumpets there in Exodus chapter 20, verse 18. Flashes of lightning and thunderings are recorded another 3 times in Revelation, so look for them again, chapter 8, 11, and 16. Each time now, they coincide with God's judgment, so do note that. The 7 spirits of God, that can cause a bit of confusion. They're symbolized by 7 lamps in the vision. They were first mentioned that way in the Holy Spirit, in the greeting in chapter 1, verse 4. But here the Holy Spirit appears to John before God's throne as 7 lamps of fire. And of course, now that's interesting because fire also represented the presence of the Holy Spirit back in Acts 2 on the day of Pentecost. The disciples were all filled with the Holy Spirit. Luke described, quote, there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them, Acts 2:3. So the fire in Acts 2 and then here in verse 5 both represent the Spirit of God. Now the number 7 really doesn't indicate there's more than one Holy Spirit. Ephesians 4:4 says there's just one Spirit. So the 7 lamps are symbolic. They represent totality, perfection, completeness of the Holy Spirit. It's just an example of the symbol of a symbolism in the heavenly vision. And by the way, now Barefoot Bible really appreciates those who subscribed. If you haven't yet, please click subscribe, a like and subscribe today. And then a little preview of next week's video. We're going to continue in Revelation 4, and we'll begin in verse 6, where John describes a sea of glass in the vision and 4 heavenly creatures, unlike any angels you have ever read about. And so we'll look forward to that. Appreciate you being with us today, and do hope that you'll join us once again next Thursday.